career in the banking industry. Over the ensuing period, she's had some time for reflection and retrospection, and now is able to look back upon her work life and look back upon that and see that from a different and fresh perspective. She'll be presenting her TED speech from the Confident Communicator Manual, Project 8, Working with Visual Aids. Lisa will share a speech entitled, What I Miss About Work.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, Lisa McMillan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. As per the introduction, I have been retired now for 4 years. It's amazing to me how quickly it went by. Since that time, or during that period, I've had a time to reflect on my 20 years in banking and the time that I've spent at home. When I first left the work world, people would ask me, do you miss anything about work? What do you miss? And this was my response. I had a response. It was nothing. I missed nothing about work. I was just happy to be home, happy to be free, happy to be able to choose what I would do every day. But again, in 4 years, you think about a lot of things. And again, I now see that there are certainly some things that I do miss about work. Not things that I thought I would have missed, but the first thing that I miss about work, oddly enough, is dressing up. Now, when I worked, I had 2 wardrobes. I had my work wardrobe, straight business suit in many colors with a matching shirt underneath. I had a couple of church dresses, and then I had pajamas. So it was very simple to figure out when I got up in the morning what I would wear. The blue suit, the gray suit, the black suit. Very easy. Getting dressed took no time at all. I found once I stopped working that I had no transitional clothes. I would spend days sometimes in my pajamas because I had nowhere to go, nothing to do, no reason to dress up. And when I did dress up, it was either yoga pants or spandex or something, not something that an adult should be going out in. So I miss being able to dress up. Over the 4 years, I've kind of transitioned my wardrobe, and it's been fun, but it's been a bit of a process. So I miss the simplicity of getting up, dressing up, and going to work. The other thing that I found myself missing was just having a schedule. Again, when I left work, I thought, wonderful, I don't have to do anything at any time, I can just be free. But I find that after a while, being free turns into being unproductive, and then that turns into being just downright lazy. You know, I knew that I needed to cook, but there was not a certain time by which I needed to cook, so 5 o'clock would come and the kids would ask, what's for dinner? And it's like, I don't know, I haven't thought about that yet, but I should. So again, after a couple of years, I realized having a schedule is good. It's not such a bad thing. I mean, I get to make up the schedule, so I'm not being forced necessarily by a certain schedule, but clearly you need to have a schedule. You need to get up, you need to brush your teeth, you need to cook at a certain point in time, you need to go to the grocery store, the things that you need to do on the schedule. I don't want my schedule to look like this, mind you, but I gave in and said, I need a schedule. A schedule is a good thing. One of the other things that I found myself missing was a to-do list. I am a very pragmatic person. I have my list, I work the list, and at the end of the day, I look at the list and I feel a sense of accomplishment and pride at all the things that I have accomplished. Now, don't get me wrong, I did have a list once I retired, but the issue was when I would get to the end of the day, the things on that list would not give me a sense of pride, they would depress me. I washed the clothes, I washed dishes 3 times today, I went to the grocery store 2 times because I was too lazy to actually plan ahead and make a list and be scheduled. So at the end of the day, it's like my accomplishments were not things that gave me a sense of pride. And in fact, even having to think about the list up front and write them down in the beginning of the day, that was depressing. Like, is this all that I have to do with my life today? So the list thing, I kind of like, well, you know what? I know I have to cook, but I'm not going to write it down. I'm not going to put it on the list. I'm not going to check it off because that is not what I want my life to be made of. So again, I missed the sense of accomplishment that came with the list at work. Feeling like you're doing important things to change the world. Now, clearly I was not changing the world, but you know, when you're at work, you think that you are. They make you feel like you are changing the world. So I missed that sense of accomplishment. Now, the thing that surprised me most about what I missed was solving problems. I mean, when I thought about what I did at work all day, that's what we did. Some of the problems were made up, and some of the solutions were made up. But again, the whole goal was solving problems, using your brain and your creativity to come up with unique ways of dealing with issues. I find at home that there's only so many ways that you can wash clothes. And I've played with, okay, what if I like sorted the whites versus the colors, and then some days just put them all in together and see what happens. But again, there's really no creativity to this whole thing. You know, it's been leaving me lacking. And even meals, coming up with creative meals. There are some people that enjoy that process. No. I find a recipe, I buy the stuff, I cook it, and I pray that it comes out good. I tell my kids, it was a 5-star rated recipe. Okay, that's all I can do. This is not an art for me or a love. It's basically a chore. The last thing that I missed, and this is the thing that surprised me most, the people. Because I'm not necessarily a people person, but I found myself missing the engagement. I mean, you can get pretty lonely at home all day watching The Price is Right. And even though Wayne Brady is very engaging, I feel like I know him. I don't really know him, right? So the relationship is not being built. So I missed interacting with people. I would spend the evening or the afternoon hours waiting for my kids to come home from school. And I would meet them at the door, and they're like, Mom, you need to find something to do. You can't do this. So I basically had to look at work in a different way. And I went to my favorite source, my last thing, being appreciated and being rewarded. Of course, there's no money involved in working, but the thing that struck me most was just the satisfaction of getting patted on the back, saying you've done a good job, saying that, you know, you're a great employee, and then the money. There's not much of being patted on the back or even being appreciated or rewarded at home. That work you do has to come from something inside of you that I just didn't have. So, sat back, thought about the fact that, okay, I left work, I was very excited, but it seems like there's things that I miss about work. So that took me to just thinking about work from God's perspective. And of course, the Bible has lots to say about work. 2 things in particular. In Ecclesiastes, one of my favorite books of the Bible, says that there's nothing better for people to do than to work and to enjoy their work. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm working, I need to enjoy it. And then secondly, that God placed Adam and Eve in the garden to work. We were meant to work. God worked, and He created us to work. So the whole fallacy that, you know, we shouldn't work, that the life of leisure is the life that we should all be pursuing, that's not the right attitude. So I said, I have to embrace the work that I have to do. And I think for me, it's not so much focusing on the work itself, it's focusing on the process of working, and that even in working, there are things that are being developed in you that are not apparent in the activities or the tasks themselves. So, yeah, I may not take a lot of satisfaction in washing the dishes, but what's really going on there is I am serving my family. And although they don't tell me, Mom, the kitchen looks great, the dishes are all put up, you are awesome, I know that they appreciate it because when I don't do it, they tell me. So I don't think I'm going back to work. I've sort of resolved that I don't need to go back to work. There is enough work around me to do. And what I need to do is just to embrace that work and know that God created us for work, and that the best life is having work that you enjoy and being happy in it. Mr. Toastmaster.